It was never about material possessions.
We know that you were already a CFP.
The traditional model of financial planning tends to focus only on the numbers aspect. Where I was introduced to this whole concept, so that workshop was called the 7 Stages of Money Maturity Workshop, which is a more detailed deep dive into the entire process.
Yeah.
It's called the Evoke process.
How does that translate to your clients? Like, do you also see people opening up their relationship about money with you completely honestly, or is there some friction over there, or how does that happen?
Having a clarity on what are the things that I wanted for myself, and second, in terms of the relationship with money, being content with what I had.
How does these conversations go around these different age groups?
My idea is not to stop working. I will continue working.
Yeah.
I just want that peace of mind, that clarity, that confidence.
Yeah.
That if I were to give it up tomorrow,
Yes.
do I have enough?
Before we move ahead, a very important disclaimer. So, whatever is being discussed here does not constitute a financial advice. To get any investment recommendations, do consult a SEBI registered investment advisors. You can visit our website on Spring Money. The link is in the description below. And on the marketplace, you can find advisors like Rahul here. Hello, everyone. And hi, Rahul. Thanks for joining us again on this podcast. So last time we had Rahul. Rahul, you explained us wonderfully about your entire philosophy about financial planning and rather life-based financial planning. Coming straight to the point, we know that you were already a CFP, but what was missing in that certification where you went on to do an RLP license as well? Would love to hear more about it.
Sure, Omkar. So see, I think the traditional model of financial planning tends to focus only on the numbers aspect, right?
Mhm.
And so therefore you had these long questionnaires that was a part of the client intake,
Okay.
wherein you would ask client about their family, who all are there in the family, their assets, liabilities, income, so on and so forth. And it was a very, very mechanical approach, right? You would ask the client, okay, list down your goals,
Yeah.
right? And normally what I found in my experience is that that's a difficult conversation to have because people are not always ready with the answer. They at times are taken aback.
Understood.
Even
Yeah.
if I were to ask you, Omkar, what are your goals?
Yeah.
It's not something that you can answer right off the bat,
Correct.
unless you've actually at some point thought about
it deliberately.
right?
Correct.
So what happens is that the default answer would be planning for my kids' education, my
Yeah.
retirement, and those buying a house and those
Kind of
things.
generic goals.
Kind of generic goals,
Yeah.
right? So these are not necessarily. What do they really mean to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
How important are they to you? Was somewhere lost in the process, right?
Hmm.
And then in the process, what happens is the plan is built based on that, right? And probably few years down the line, those things might not even matter to you. That's where I was introduced. So it's not like I consciously went out searching for life planning.
Okay.
But it just so happened that there was this US company which does this training had come to India. That was for a brief workshop of 2 days,
Okay.
where I was introduced to this whole concept. So that workshop was called the 7 Stages of Money Maturity Workshop.
Okay.
So that kind of rather presented a very unique perspective, right, on how your money memories and your money mindset, those kind of things really impact. And therefore, trying to discover where clients are in terms of their relationship with money
With the money. Correct.
becomes very, very important and an integral part on how you go about making financial decisions. So I like that, and therefore, incidentally, they were also doing a 5-day workshop,
Okay.
which is a more detailed deep dive into the entire process.
Yeah.
It's called the Evoke process, and I did that process, and it was very transformative experience for me, because in that workshop you had to act both as an advisor and also as a client.
Interesting. Okay.
So your partner would be an advisor, who would help you to kind of do those exercises and take you through the entire process. And I would also do the same for that other person. And there would obviously be instructors who would kind of supervise and point out in case wherever you needed the guidance. By the end of it, Omkar, it just opened my eyes and showed me a very, very different approach. Right?
Okay.
And one aspect of the entire training is the 3 questions, which I am assuming you'll definitely be interested in knowing.
Yes, absolutely.
So by the end of it, what is very fascinating is that it was never about material possessions,
Okay.
which truly drove the desire.
Yeah.
So that's why, coming back to the earlier point, if you typically ask someone, okay, I want to buy this car, I want to buy this house, I want to buy this holiday home, I want to go backpacking in Europe, and these kind of things just keep on coming up.
Yeah.
They might be important, they might not be important.
Yeah.
But that's what I found, that in the end, it was not about that. It ultimately boiled down to very, very simple, which is the innate human sense of belonging. And so it kind of came down to, not being able to spend time with the kids, or wanting to spend more time with the family, and those kind of things. More qualitative things.
Yeah.
Now, you may think that this is a very philosophical answer.
Yeah.
But the fact is that each and every decision that we take in our lives somewhere has a monetary impact.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
So that's actually what kind of, really was an aha moment for me, for the lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And I think I consciously decided that, this would be the default way I would go about engaging with my clients. And this was the only way I felt that I would be able to make a tangible difference and contribute to them.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, sorry for the long-winded
Yes.
answer, but I
No,
think...
I guess that actually helps, because one part is obviously how you must have changed your practice after doing this workshop.
Yeah.
But as you said, in the 2-day workshop or the 5-day workshop, you yourself were also acting as a client as well.
Yeah.
Would love to hear more about how your relationship with money, probably that occurred to you during that workshop, but how your relationship with money changed after that, where you yourself again were probably your own client as well, and how that journey has been.
Okay. So see, I think what, as an outcome of this workshop that I participated in, what became clear was that, what were the things that I really wanted for myself.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously some of that is personal, so I can't share that here.
Yeah.
But so those things became very clear. Right.
Okay.
And earlier, I mean, the approach was obviously like, I want to achieve X amount of wealth, or on those lines, right? Typical material pursuits that we want for ourselves, right? But I think it came down to, again, the same things that, being there for my mother who was aging. I'd lost my father, and she was alone. So, but because of the kind of, industry that we are in, or because of the kind of work pressure, etc., lifestyle that we had, you hardly had any time, right? So those kind of things happened, spending time with children again, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was a very significant change, wherein, being present.
Yeah.
For the ones who matter to you. I think that kind of came out. In terms of the relationship with money, I think what happened was that I became more at peace with what I had.
Which is very important.
Yeah. And also, I mean, a sense of gratitude that, I mean, you are better off with a significant percentage of the other people, right? And it's all right, right? And this became even more pronounced during the COVID, because I completed the life planning training. Because what also follows these workshops is a 6-month mentorship with an experienced life planner, who's been doing this for a fair number of years.
Right, understood.
And in the course of doing that, you have to discuss real life case studies without taking names, of course. So that also kind of, so that you get the direction on how to engage with clients. So during COVID, this became even more prominent, because what happened with COVID is that it slowed life down.
Yeah. Significantly.
Right? Significantly.
Yes.
And that's where, people started finding joy in being able to have dinners together.
Yeah.
Cooking meals together, doing household
Even
stuff.
if they were kind of forced to do that, but people did genuinely enjoy that. Yes.
So suddenly that urge to go out every weekend to a fancy dinner or a shopping. And then you realize that, okay, you actually don't need that much money, right, on a monthly basis to kind of maintain a decent lifestyle and do things that are truly important to you. So yeah, I think so. Those two things, I mean, in terms of, having a clarity on what are the things that I wanted for myself. And second, in terms of the relationship with money, being content with what I had.
Yeah. I'm slightly assuming on your behalf as well. I think that to reach that point, probably you would have had to open up very genuinely and honestly. Like you have to went probably with complete honesty with yourself about how you think about money and how your relationship with money is. How does that translate to your clients? Like, do you also see people opening up their relationship about money with you completely honestly, or is there some friction over there, or how does that happen?
Okay. So see, I think I don't phrase it firstly as a relationship with money directly, right?
Yes,
because then that can put people off guard.
Yeah.
So this entire training allows you to, or rather trains you to be an active listener, right? I mean, we have a default desire to speak most of the time. And as advised also, we are very quick to rush into making a prescription that do this.
Yeah.
Right? I think the training basically teaches you to actively listen, right? Without interrupting, without judging.
Okay.
Right. And when clients feel that kind of a safe space where they can open up, they feel that they get a sense that this person is genuinely interested in knowing my story,
right,
what matters to me. they start opening up.
Yeah.
Right. There would be exceptions, of course, but for most part, I have not found, and on most occasions, clients are very happy with the conversation.
Wow.
That we typically we never thought, and because I work with couples, so it inevitably happens that they end up discovering something like a secret desire,
Yeah.
which someone was probably having within them,
Hmm.
which somewhat never surfaced.
Yeah.
Right.
Understood.
I'll give you a very recent example wherein husband was very introverted by default, right? And the wife was all right.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so the wife was so thankful to me that thank you, Rahul.
Hmm.
I mean, this is the first time this guy has spoken so
Oh,
much.
wow. Okay.
So thanks for making
That's some
open up.
compliment.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, it's a very, very fascinating thing. So to answer, coming back to your question, I think a lot of the innermost things do come out, but I think you have to be present. You have to actively listen. You have to show that genuine desire.
Yeah.
It can also be a charade, right? I can put on that thing, but it ultimately we as humans sense.
Yeah.
If someone is interested versus
Yes.
someone who's just doing it for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. I think for an financial advisor, or what the common idea of a financial advisor would be, wherein there is numbers, there is showing all those numbers and results. Probably this lies on the opposite end of the spectrum, where you are on the listening side and where you're actively listening, which probably is a wonderful surprise for your clients as well. And I hope that it is the case. Let's go back to the 3 questions that you mentioned, which is probably the core of the Kinder Institute's philosophy around RLP as well, which is, of course, the freedom question, the charity question, and the reality question. Would love to know more about it.
Okay. So yeah, so Kinder has these various inspirational exercises, as they call them, right? Which makes you reflect upon things, right? So the 3 questions are one of the most widely known tools, so as to speak. So there are these 3 questions, and I'll just quickly, without repeating them verbatim.
Yeah.
So the first question simply asks you that if you had all the money to take care of all your needs, now and into the future, how would that change your life? What would you do, right? So like you said, this is the freedom question. So therefore, it basically, then the client's imagination runs wide. The typical responses out here tend to be around materialistic pursuits. So vacation is the most common recurring theme, which kind of comes out here. There are obviously instances, okay, I want to have a holiday home and those kind of things. But it's mostly, to a large extent, material, and to also some extent, pursue my passion.
Yeah.
And because that is, I think, in vogue also, on trend.
Yes.
And then people do tend to mention that, okay, I mean, if I'm free, then, I don't have to, I can quit my job. And then that tends to be the default answer. And that, I think, also has to do with the way the financial independence piece is marketed.
Yes.
Right. And this question is about that, right? Moving on. So then, once the client has answered, the next question in the sequence is, the question asks you is that if you visit your regular family doctor, and he asks you to do certain tests, and based on that consultation, he gives you a news that you have exactly 5 to 10 years to live. You will not feel any sense of pain, but that's the amount of time that you have left, right? And then the question is that, what would you do in the ensuing period, right? So if you understand that, okay, the first question was about freedom. Now it's basically binding this within a time constraint.
Correct.
So what happens as a consequence is that what is relatively more important, which might be featuring in the first question, might not be featuring because you may not have given it that a deeper thought, right? That tends to come out here. The next question in the sequence is, this time the doctor tells you that you have exactly 1 day to live.
Okay.
Right? And then the follow-on questions to this is, what did you miss? Who did you not get to be? What do you regret?
Wow.
Right?
Some powerful questions.
Yes. Yeah. And this actually really slows you down. Yeah. And I've received feedback from clients that, Rahul, this was a very disturbing question.
Yeah.
Right? And it really made me think, right? So, yeah. So again, so if you notice that the sequence is like that, right? Now it becomes more important that, what do you want to leave behind, right? So I think and even research kind of, documents this. And this is where at the end of the third question is generally where the most deepest, most cherished things kind of, come out, what's truly important.
Yeah.
Because you now have only 24 hours to live, right? And therefore, I mean, it's about, as I said, spending time with the family, and also, ensuring that the family is taken care of, right? You might ask me, Rahul, these sound very philosophical.
Yeah.
How do they actually translate into
practical
actual financial plans? Now, if you think of it, if you want to be ensured that your family is taken care of even after you're not there, it opens up the discussion on insurance.
Yes.
Because you would want them to be financially secure.
Covered, yes.
You would want to review if your savings and investments are enough.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Those kind of things. Would you have you put a will in place?
Yeah.
Are your nominations updated? So I think you get the sense, right? So it opens up that
absolutely.
entire thing. And once this comes out, I think it becomes very, very evident to the client, right? And therefore, the urgency to act on this is there, because then the discussion becomes more meaningful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is how it is.
I guess the most important part about your response was that the conversation becomes more meaningful.
Absolutely.
Because obviously, as we keep on talking about key market returns or whatever the ROI is, all these kind of things, obviously there is some joy in it, there is some benefit in it, but probably the kind of depth that you are talking about right now when you are talking about people's purpose for why they are actually coming to you and planning their finances, that surfaces really well the way you explained it. So Thanks for that. You also happen to mention the retirement part or the financial independence part. And obviously nowadays it is very trendy to talk about the FIRE number or the retirement number or whatever it's called. But we realize that retirement or financial independence, it isn't just about numbers. I think it's more about the choices, about the lifestyle, about the values that you want to genuinely live for whatever the rest of your life. What are your thoughts on in general about FIRE and in general about the way people want to spend their lives after retirement as well?
So this is a major bone of contention for me, in the sense that I just don't like the word retirement.
Okay.
And very interestingly, if you were to look up and Google for let's say the definitions of the word retirement, you'll realize that all of them have very, very negative connotations.
Okay.
So like retirement would say retreat.
Okay.
Retire from active duty. These kind of things, right? Which have a negative connotation, right? So I think when it comes to retirement, I think I may be wrong in quoting this, but I think the concept was probably first thought of, I think, in Germany or probably during the Second World War, wherein there was a time after which soldiers had to retire.
Yeah.
And therefore, after their active service, there needed to be some form of pension. I may be wrong, but I think that if I remember my history correctly, I read this somewhere.
Okay.
Nevertheless, so the main point is that retirement is not a pit stop.
Yeah.
The way it is made to be, that okay, you get from point A to point B, and it's made out that okay, you are useless.
Yeah.
Or
sudden transition into something else.
Right?
Yep.
The discussion also tends to focus excessively on the financial number. Be it the FIRE number, the retirement corpus, and you have these calculators on various websites, etc. Also, again, that does not really serve the purpose before you have the more values-based discussion around it. Let me try and explain this to you. See, for a lot of us, especially say salaried people, professionals, etc., our identity, our sense of self-worth,
yes, definitely,
is tied to the kind of work that we do.
Yeah.
Right, and that's where the sense of self-worth also comes in. Also, we are used to a very structured way of life.
Correct.
A routine. Right?
Yes.
What also happens is that over the period of time, our network, our social network also, these office colleagues.
Yeah,
right?
It grows around that.
Yeah. And what happens is that if you have done well in your career and if you've risen the ranks, right, you are used to feeling important.
Yeah. In that particular setting, for sure.
Yeah, yes. You're a leader, right? And so it's that kind of thought process. What happens is that if you've not thought through these points prior to you actually getting into the phase, then it becomes very, very difficult, right? And there's a lot of research. I don't think we'll be able to cover it in the scope of this podcast. But the immediate period following the retirement period is like known as the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
Wherein you feel very good. You suddenly have
a lot of time. Yes.
All the time. You also have money because you accumulated and all that. That starts to drop significantly after 1 or 2 years, right?
Correct.
And then you are wondering as to how do I fill the time?
Yeah.
If you've not given it thought,
yes.
right? And I don't have the data for India, but In the US, I mean, it's a very well documented thing that people tend to get into depression because there's sudden lack of
Void.
self-worth,
Correct.
lack of identity, right?
Yeah.
You are the CEO of a company and suddenly, I mean, who are you?
Correct.
And I think there was a recent blog post that I read, said, who are you without your title?
Wow.
Right. So I think that conversation becomes very, very important. And I think that is also tied to the fire piece as well, right? Fine, I mean, you retire early. What are you doing after that?
Yeah.
Right. And I think with the advancement in medical sciences, probably will live longer.
Yeah.
So you probably will have more years of, left after the so-called active working phase.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you do? So yeah, I think to answer your question, I think that discussion is very, very important to have that and treat retirement as a transition.
Yeah.
It's not like a switch band kar di and you are now into a new
Correct.
thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a transition that has to be thought of, and the psychological aspects also needed to be considered.
I guess, I mean, obviously, you talked about retirement from an occupational point of view or where you're stopping active work.
Yeah.
But what lately has happened is that people, I don't know if it's for the good or bad, but people have stuck around the retirement number, or again, as we talked about the fire number part of it,
Right.
where retirement or saving enough amount of money so that I can retire early becomes the significant milestone. And probably you have written it in a couple of times, is about how money should be the means and not the master.
Yeah.
Would love to hear your thoughts more around that, about how we should look at money. Again, as you rightly said, probably as a stepping stone, or thinking of all these things as a transition rather than a significant step itself.
Right.
So yeah, your thoughts on this.
Right. So I think, see, one is the psychological aspect of planning, right?
Yeah.
The second is when it comes to the number. So again, once you do this introspection and you are basically planning for how you're going to spend your time in retirement, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing? Are you living in the same city? Or are you relocating to the countryside or in a smaller home? Your expenses change, right? Then your requirement will become different.
Yeah.
Right now, the traditional practice is that, okay, what are your current, the calculators, the way they do it, your current expenses are X, you take 80% or 90% of that because your expenses drop a bit in retirement.
Yes.
And then you calculate based on that, right? You calculate inflation based on that. I mean, your inflation number could be very, very different, right? If you're growing your own food, right?
Yeah.
So those kind of things come in. So I mean, I'm putting it very simplistically. But so what are you doing? I mean, how are you spending the time in your retirement? What are the kind of activities that you're doing? Are you involved in just charity work, right? Wherein you're not probably earning anything. Or are you also, actively because you've been a leader and you have a lot to give back.
Yeah.
Right. So you probably might be doing something at a much, much lower kind of thing, or a freelance consulting or whatever. All these aspects, right, will basically become the source of input.
Yeah.
In terms of calculating, okay, that what is the amount of money that I need to sustain myself, right?
Yeah.
That is the way on which the number has to be calculated.
Correct.
Instead of that arbitrary number of 80-90% of your current expenses. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And rather, obviously one part is whenever we are talking about retirement in this way, probably what default assumption in our mind is that we are talking about, let's say, something we are doing after 50 or after 55, 60, 70,
absolutely.
whatever the number is, whatever the number in terms of age is. But obviously came across a very wonderful article written by you where you are talking about something called as the intermission years. So obviously, because you hate the word retirement as well, so probably we are not talking about retirement, but because the kind of activities that you want to do, that you would want to do, and the kind of energy that you need for this probably might not be the realistic case once you're 60. But you talk about these intermission years. Obviously, would love to hear from you. But you talk about these intermission years where you are suggesting this for probably slightly younger couples or younger people as well. So what exactly is the concept that you're talking about?
Not necessarily younger people, Omkar. It is basically, so when I'm talking about this,
just when I say younger, I mean not as old as 60.
Okay.
So in that context, younger, yes.
Right. So I think out here is that typically, I mean, as you rightly said, right? I mean, the traditional construct is that, you basically work till 60, save till 60, and then you start doing all that you wanted to, right? It is not, you might not have life. I mean, God forbid, I mean, if you're unfortunate, I mean, you might not be there by that time, right? So the point is, while you are there, right? I mean, how can you maximize?
Correct.
Right? How can you experience to whatever extent possible with the constraints? So I think the article that you're referring to is where I basically spoke about taking these mini retirements, so as to speak, right? Wherein you're not actually taking a break from, like a permanent break from work, right? call it a sabbatical, or it could be for anything else, right? Wherein you're taking a break of say 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years, right? And that could be to renew, to recharge. Maybe, I mean, you are fed up of the current work that you're doing, and then you probably want to rediscover as to how you want to work moving forward. So I think that's the idea, that wherein you take these breaks, and which can possibly help you to not only do the things that you wanted to and not put everything off for later.
Yeah.
Right. And also, I mean, if you've been working in a very stressful kind of an environment, and those breaks help you to rejuvenate, renew, and recharge as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, loved the word you used, which is the intermission.
Yeah.
Because that definitely signifies that you are going to continue, or you
Yeah.
are going to restart working later as well.
Yeah.
I mean, because obviously, if we would have taken something on the very face value of early retirement or something like that, it probably goes in the YOLO direction, where you might want to, like, one might feel or perceive it as if you are letting go of everything and jumping into your desires and doing all the things that you actually want.
Right.
But when you use the word intermission, probably again, it's a small break, it's a mini retirement, and you are conscious before taking the retirement that you want to go back and join the workforce or do whatever things you actually wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Just want to double click on this and want to understand, you must be having these interactions with your clients. So how are these different for a person who is probably, let's say, age 30, age 40, age 50, and age 60? How does these conversations go around these different age groups?
Right. So I think it's a very good question. Why? Because it does have an impact. What I am noticing is that the younger lot are more into this, right? And the conversations around sabbaticals and taking a break from work tend to happen more frequently, and it is there in their list of things that they want, right? It is not so much prevalent amongst the older clients, probably age 45, 50 and above. Out there, the idea is around that, Rahul, just help me out with, if I were to hang up my boots tomorrow, would I have money to sustain myself? My idea is not to, stop working. I will continue working.
Yeah.
I just want that peace of mind, that clarity, that confidence, that if I were to give it up tomorrow, do I have enough?
Understood.
Right? So that's the clarity that they need. The intermission, the sabbaticals, etc. In fact, there's another term. There's a term called micro-retirement also, which are shorter breaks.
Yeah.
Right? So it's, I think, more prevalent in the younger lot. And I think Gen Z, as we call them, is more about experiences and, so yeah, that conversation tends to happen more. In fact, I do have these cases. I mean, one of them which comes to my mind is in a recent conversation wherein, as a part of doing all these discussions and exercises with the clients, it just kind of came out of nowhere that there was a secret desire to basically learn how to fly and become a pilot.
Okay.
Not a commercial pilot, but as an enthusiast, right? And so these are, and we actually have kind of, put that in the plan.
Okay.
Now, whether he actually does it or is still motivated or not is not the point. The point is that if you really want to do it, yes, it is possible.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's what helps. So again, I mean, just to take a slight segue, again, research has again shown that at the end of our lives, we tend to remember the regrets and not our accomplishments.
Yeah.
And so there can be nothing more tragic than that at the end of life, we have more regrets than, happy moments, such to think. Yeah.
I think it's a genuinely appreciable thing that you kind of recommend your clients to actually take a pause, to take, as you mentioned it in the article, to take a strategic pause, to check the momentum and to ensure that whatever you genuinely want to do in your life, if you're doing it at least in the right amounts or not. And then obviously then going ahead with the work.
Just interrupt you here. So
yes, please.
In my way of engaging with clients and working with clients, I never recommend.
Okay.
Because I believe that when you are creating a plan, let's say you are my client, it's your plan. And you have to take the ownership for it.
Yeah.
It has to reflect what is most important for you, right? Because if it is not the case, 90% or more than that, the plan is not going to work. And there's again document, especially in the US context, wherein most plans fail.
Okay.
Because there's no follow through. So I think that motivation is not. So what I try to do is basically become that facilitator who tries to bring out what's most important to you. And with the view that because these are so important to you, you will have that energy to kind of act upon it.
Right.
I am just trying to show you what's possible within the context of the resources that you have.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely put. Yeah, I mean, what you said totally makes sense. Probably the conviction that one needs to actually follow through. Obviously, you as an individual, you as an advisor, you can only show us the path, guide us key what could, again, as you correctly said, show us the possibilities, and the rest of the walking, the rest of the running, the rest of the sprinting, it has to be done by the client.
Absolutely.
And obviously, we trust that the advisors will be there at each point of time, helping us and guiding us through these journeys as well. So thanks for correcting me, and genuinely lovely put. So whenever, so we'll go slightly into the more philosophical discussion. Whenever we talk about financial planning, or specifically life-based financial planning, correct me if I'm wrong, but we end up thinking more about the positive sides, where I have certain dreams, I have certain desires, I have certain goals, and then the planner is actually helping me for those things, to how to achieve those things. There is a flip side of the coin as well, where probably to prevent negative states, or to prevent any kind of negative context, how does life-based financial planning come into that? If you have any examples, or just if you could just shed some light on that.
Right. So as you said, right, it's life-based planning, and I call it life-shaped planning. But anyways,
okay.
No, that's all right. It could be life-shape based also. So I think the answer lies in the term life itself. I think life is not linear.
Yeah.
Life goes through its own sequence of ebbs and flows, right? There are there are good moments, there are unpleasant moments. There are things we plan for and we want to happen certain way, but then there are things that don't pan out the way we want to, right? So I think the plan, and therefore, I mean, if you notice, financial planning is a verb, which basically conveys that it's an ongoing activity, right? And it has to keep pace with your life and adapt to that. It has to be dynamic enough, right? So to answer your question, so yeah, I mean, we tend to, obviously, no one wants to plan for a disaster, right?
Of course.
What happens is that the unpleasant kind of things could be, let's say, especially when I'm working with couples. So one of the things could be wherein someone is going through a separation or a divorce, or someone has lost their significant other. These are very, very emotionally charged and traumatic times, right? And as an advisor, empathy becomes very important, right? That you do not rush in to make any kind of recommendation, etc. I think you just have to show up, right? And just give permission to the client to just be, convey that there's nothing, the world's not going to change. I mean, if you don't look at the portfolio for the next 1 month, or you don't start that SIP or make that investment, or that new product is closing, it's not going to really make a difference. I think that in my experience, and I may be wrong, I'm not a therapist, but what I think in my experience, what I found is that what all they need is, again, it comes back to the same thing, that having that comfort, that clarity, that confidence, that it's okay, right? And you should not basically rush into making any recommendations or wanting them to take any actions. The discussion that should happen, okay, that what's the one or two things that are bothering you most in the context of your financial plan, right?
Correct.
And let's address that right away. For the rest, we'll come to it later. Right? There is no pressing need to kind of, come to it right away. I think that itself kind of, frees up a lot of tension, because the person is going through so much emotions, right? So I don't think it's fair. And therefore, it becomes very important to act with empathy and concern. And also, what would happen is that even if someone does end up taking a decision at that point of time, it will not be a well thought out decision. You're not in that state of mind to be making, good decisions about your life, because you've just your life has been upended, right? And therefore, it is the way it is. I
mean, I'm sure that the first point which you mentioned, which is the active listening part, again, which ties to the empathy part, which you talked about right now as well, that genuinely helps you as well as effectively your clients as well,
right.
to actually navigate these difficult moments in their lives.
It's always about the client, Omkar. I mean, you are not here to impose your agenda, or your plan, or your advice so as to speak on someone, right?
Correct.
I mean, it's basically to spend that time to understand what truly matters, what would give them that peace of mind, that security, whatever that is. So I mean, that's a responsibility that every advisor should look at.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, as you said, the term you used was that emotionally charged circumstances, or the mentalities are in a way that people might end up thinking of taking some actions, be it financial, non-financial, whatever it is, and then your job is to anchor them, just to let them know that things are okay, and which is a genuinely very nice, like a necessary thing to do as well. And I'm pretty sure that in retrospect also they appreciate your presence in those moments. Probably that is what we talk about when there is slightly longer journey, or a longer moments or series of moments that they are going through. On the shorter side, we also, I'm sure you also must have seen people do this impulsive spends or impulsive transactions as well. So what are the similarities or the differences between these two things, where people are effectively, it's in a way the same thing, that you are making the decisions based on your emotions rather than going through with a very well thought, basically properly thought out manner. And how does that, like, what do you think about it?
So that's not linked to the point about the transitions.
Yes.
So this again kind of goes back to something called, what's your money mindset, or your money personality, or your relationship with money. It kind of goes back to that. So what happens is a lot of who we are today, the way we take decisions, our relationship with money is shaped by our childhood years.
Okay.
And typically, 0 to 8 years is the the phase wherein it's said that those are the most productive years for a child to learn.
Okay.
Right.
About money as well.
Generally also, and about money as well, right? Their ability to grasp is the highest at this point of time. So what happens is that consciously and subconsciously is actually more important, we pick up signals, actions, words, statements that we've heard our parents, our friends, our neighbors, and so on, right? Things that they have done, or things they have said, right? Like, let's say if you grew up in a family where money was always tight, and probably you saw your father working very, very hard, so you would probably, develop a belief that in order to have money, you need to be hardworking, which is not wrong. It's just a way of being, right? It could also be that.
So I guess it is very important what you said, that you just being there with your clients in their emotionally as well as financial difficult conditions, and just being there and just anchoring them down, letting them know that it is okay, and then probably we can delay a couple of things, and we can readjust the financial plans, we can look at the investments, we can look at all the other things a couple of moments later as well, a couple of days later as well, and how comforting that they must be feeling at that moment as well as later on retrospectively as well.
Right.
So that is very genuinely nice of you to do that. What probably I have heard at least is that people in such difficult moments, they also, because again there's emotional charge, there is loss of there's slightly blurry vision about how they are dealing their finances. Have heard a lot about stress selling, or basically selling off their assets just to get the quick resources, just to get the quick money as well. How do you think people should be dealing with these things, and how should an advisor also deal with these kind of situations as well?
So again, I think it comes back to the same thing, right? You try to understand as to what is their motivation for wanting to sell that. Right. If it is about generating funds, you present to them the alternatives, right? As to what is the relative impact of each, right? If it is not about immediate liquidity, it can obviously park for later again, right? And not just a couple of days. It could be much more than. Normally, it's probably 3 months, 6 months down the line, because you need that kind of time and space, right? So I think, again, it kind of boils down to basically trying to understand the motivation as to why someone is doing something, making them aware of it. And probably I think that in itself will kind of, bring out the answer as to why they're doing it. And once they have clarity on that, even if it's the, I don't know if it's the right thing or wrong thing to do, but having that agency to decide and knowing why you're doing something gives you a lot of comfort, right? You know why you're doing a certain thing. Yeah.
I guess before this as well, we were talking a bit about your relationship with money. And probably the parallel I could draw in general about quick responses was the flight or fight responses that we learn about in schools. Similarly, like basically whatever is the immediate reactions that we give to any kind of these situations. And you earlier mentioned that these kind of relationships do form in your early formative childhood years as well.
Right.
Would love you to expand on that.
So yeah, Omkar. So basically, all of us, you, me, yeah, everyone we know, ultimately, we all have a unique relationship to money, right? And what money means to each of us would vary extremely,
Yeah.
right? For someone, money might be the only uh, means
Hmm.
to convey that you're successful.
Yeah.
It's only if you have money, it means that you're successful.
Yes.
For someone else, it could be the polar opposite.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, how do these beliefs form? These beliefs basically form during our formative years based on the kind of environment that we are in, what we see our parents, our friends, other people that we interact with, what they are doing, right? And we form these beliefs around money, these money scripts, as they are called.
Okay.
So, like statements like "rich people do not deserve money,"
Okay.
right? Or people who are not willing to work hard should not deserve money.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of statements which are there and which kind of form in your head. Now today, when you actually kind of go about acting on that, if you've grown up with these beliefs, so let's say for someone who basically equates success with money, right? What would he typically do? I mean, he would always want to spend on items which basically outwardly project
that you are successful, you are rich.
You're successful. So
Yeah.
you'll be wearing a fancy luxury watch, driving a high-end car, and so on and so forth, right? And for the other side, it could be something else. So yeah, so that is it is a extremely important aspect which determines how we make financial decisions. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it must be interesting when you are actually
it is.
interacting with your clients
More
as well.
so, yeah. More so when you're doing this with couples.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Lovely. I mean, again, as you said, they might also be realizing these natures or these sides about each other while they're having the conversations with you, and it must be both like humorous as well as something interesting moments that you have with your clients as well.
Right.
Super interesting. We'll slightly change the gear a little bit, and obviously we are talking about philosophy, about how we have relationships with money, and in general how we should be looking at money as well. Slightly coming to the actual practicality of it, when you talk about life-shaped financial planning. Obviously, I'm assuming that the initial steps would be around emergency funds or just ensuring that you have sufficient funds in case of any emergencies. But what next after that? What comes after the basics are secured, and then how are people supposed to deal with it?
Okay. So when it comes to life shape planning, at least in the way I do it is, see, typically once a client comes on board, right, I try to get a sense of if there is any pressing concern that they have.
Okay.
Right. And obviously, I mean, because if it's a cause of concern for them, then obviously you try to fix that, right, and put that in place. So like you said, I mean, if they are concerned about what would happen if they were to lose the job tomorrow, then you would want to check if they have a sufficient amount of backup in place or not, right? And then you'll try to put that in place. But in the way I like to work with clients is that before I even get into numbers, I want to establish what's important upfront, right? So I always tell that we'll come to the numbers later. I mean, let's try and understand that what truly matters to you, right? What are the things that you want to happen in your life, right? And which would make you feel happy about it. So, I mean, you have this series of discovery sessions that happen with clients, wherein you start with understanding their background, the kind of families that they've grown up in, their progress that they've made, what are the plans for the future, right? So that's more of a warming up kind of a conversation. So as to the clients also feel that they're getting into a slightly different kind of an engagement, right? As opposed to a traditional fact finder, wherein they have to just put the numbers. Once they kind of warmed up, so by typically in the way I work, at least, I basically give them that 3 questions exercise to complete, right? So that they can spend time on it. And that is what I address in the next meeting, right? So I now have a fair idea of what the client's background is, and what his responses to those 3 questions are, and that forms the basis of the second meeting, right? Wherein you, based on all the information now that you have, you try to basically present a vision of what an ideal life for the client would look like. What are the key elements? Right? I mean, whether you want to put an emergency fund in place or you want to ensure security for the family. I mean, those kind of things, right? What are those key elements? And typically when we present this, what we are trying to look out for is what is the client's reaction to this. Does he feel very, very charged up and happy about it? And I normally present this as a statement, right? Which I should, because in the case, most of the meetings happen virtually.
Yeah.
So I basically put that let's say if as a consequence of our work together, in 3 years from now, this is how it looks like. How does that make you feel? And then again, you pause and you let the client kind of fill that space and tell him what he feels about that, and you observe the energy basically. If it works, if it lands, then obviously you will feel his eyes light up and all of that, right? If it does not, then probably you've not done a good job. And then you try to again go back to the 3 questions and the past discussions and try to see that, okay, what is that aspect which is more meaningful for the client. In the subsequent one, we kind of try to understand that what's kind of coming in the way, what are the obstacles, right? So to give you a sense that, let's say you stated something that you truly want to happen. So what I would ask you is that, okay, what is coming in the way?
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, again, I'm not getting into the technicalities of it, but the idea, so this is the entire sequence of event. Now, by the end of the 3rd meeting, the idea is to have clarity on what those key outcomes are. Okay. What do you want, right, to happen in the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, whatever that is, right? And that becomes the centerpiece of your financial plan.
Okay.
And then your numbers do come in, because now you want to evaluate the feasibility, you'll discuss the trade-offs, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, the way you're describing it, I mean, that gives away why this life-shaped financial planning is such a rare thing, and why I understand that why RLP would be such a rare certification as well. The way you were describing right now, I think it slightly relates to Simon Sinek's The Why framework, where you start with the why and then you go to the how and what.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, there's a reason why that framework is so powerful and hence widely cherished as well. And I could see the similar lines where you are applying for the financial planning as well.
Absolutely. I'll add to that. I mean, there's a quote. So Simon Sinek obviously is now known synonymous with that.
Yeah.
So there's this, I don't know if I'll pronounce the name right. So this philosopher by the name of Nietzsche. Right. So he said, he who has a why can figure out the what.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So I think that by default is the starting point. So, and that is the quote from way long back.
I guess the next question might seem slightly shallow after what we have discussed right now. But basically, obviously, cannot put in a very generalistic way in couple of sentences as well. But 2 quick questions to you. One, what is for the lack of a better term, let's use the word suggestion. What is a key suggestion for an individual who's feeling stuck or depleted? And what is a key suggestion for a couple who wants to move beyond budgeting and just SIPs?
So the first case is where someone is feeling stuck, and when you say stuck, you mean stuck in life.
Stuck in life, and financially he wants to explore, he wants to do a lot of things, but is unable to think of where to move, where to seek help, what to do, in general stuck.
So I think nowadays a lot of self-help tools, exercises, etc. are available, right, online as well. So you can, I mean, if you can manage to do it, I mean, then by all means, one can kind of try and do it on the own, or probably, I mean, work with an advisor. I mean, I'm not trying to plug myself here, but work with an advisor. I mean, if you feel that it's too much for you to do on your own.
Understood.
If nothing else, it kind of gives you clarity, right, on someone who kind of works alongside you. Probably, I mean, you could also look at working with a life coach.
Understood.
Because at this point of time, it's not about money per se, right? Yeah. So that is the first thing. Even for couples, again, it depends on what the motivations are, what is it that they're seeking for themselves, right? If possibly, again, if it's depending on the severity of the situation, it's more to do with financial planning side of things, and I think a financial advisor would be a good person to go to. If the problems are deeper, then obviously you probably would need to go to a therapist or someone. Yeah.
Lovely put. I guess we'll conclude this session here.
Sure.
As we keep on saying, you are a very good person who explains this concept to the core, that personal finance is personal. Obviously, we happen to be in the area of finance, but it is about the persons involved, be it individual, be it couples, be it the families. And thanks for sharing your thoughts on this.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Rahul, for joining us. You can visit Rahul and check more about him on his website, adventfi.com. And we at Spring Money, we love to support and work with these kind of financial advisors, SEBI registered investment advisors as well, and build the technology for them. Thank you so much.